Hey there, everyone. Just giving it a second to start streaming and making sure that it works. I do have audio and video this time. That's nice. Yep. Okay, cool. I see that it's there. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Stories I Love. It's me, Joe, and I'm going to be presenting today the second in a four-part series of stories that I love. So what am I doing? I've been on a personal journey for a little while now to create content on Substack and work on a book that I want to present as a live presentation. And on the way up to that, I realized that part of just practicing and getting used to speaking live is A, going live and just doing content, and then B, getting used to sharing things about myself. Because if I can learn to be vulnerable about me and express things that I love, it's going to be easier to really get into the vibe of the story and what I'm aiming for if I learn to do that now. So the point of this story I'm working on is I want to be able to deliver it as a live performance, which is something I've not ever done before and I'm kind of challenging myself to do. And this is a little way to work up to it. There are 4 key stories that I find truly kind of help me identify with who I am and are part of my upbringing. And I wanted to talk about those in a process of just kind of these little lives called Stories I Love. So what are these stories and what are they like? Well, the first one was Jurassic Park. It was one of the toughest videos I ever did a live stream on. If you haven't had a chance to see it, I posted to Substack, I posted to YouTube, shared it with my mom. She did really like it, and I got really great feedback from her. I think she's one of my top supporters, so thank you, Mom. And the second movie I thought I would share was another classic, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Why does this movie resonate so highly with me? Well, similarly to Jurassic Park, when I was young, there was another movie my mom would let me watch and put on via VHS tape, and that was Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. And I loved it. It took me a decade or more to realize that it was a musical. I used to tell people I hated musicals, and they'd ask what my favorite movies were. I'd say things like, oh, Nightmare Before Christmas, Star Wars, Jurassic Park. They'd be like, well, one of those is a musical, and I'd say, hush. But it's true. It is a musical, and I absolutely fell in love with the songs. I fell in love with the characters. I fell in love with the entire atmosphere of that movie at a young age before ever really understanding anything about it. It is my second on my Mount Rushmore of favorite movies, and through this series, we're going to go over all of them. I did Jurassic Park. I'm doing Nightmare today. Star Wars and Lord of the Rings are still to come. But what makes this movie so special to me? What is it that I loved about it as a child versus what I see as it now? There's a difference. When I was a kid, when I was young, when I was, 4 or 5 years old watching this on VHS, I just loved Jack Skellington. He seemed so cool. He seemed so interesting. I loved Halloween Town. I loved the Christmas aesthetic and vibe he played into. It was just an exciting movie to watch that I would watch over and over. I think my family hates that about me. My brother has realized that once I like a song, I will listen to that song until I no longer ever want to hear that song again. My mom realized, especially from a young age, that once I liked a movie, I would just continually watch that movie. And to this day, I can kind of unplug and just put the favorites on. I can watch a movie on my Plex server and just continually every year always watch that movie on repeat during the same time of year. I always watch Jurassic Park on my birthday. I always watch The Nightmare Before Christmas between Halloween and Christmas. It's just a movie that I loved as a kid. So let me talk a little bit about it. What is it about that story that I enjoyed? Well, Jack Skellington's a typical millennial. Before we knew what millennials were, Jack Skellington was a millennial. He woke up one day at his job and said, I don't really like this anymore. Yeah, I'm successful at it, and yeah, I'm good at it, and yeah, I'm qualified to be the Pumpkin King, and I'm qualified to run Halloween, but I hate it. I want to try to reinvent my identity, and I'm going to make society and everyone around me suffer as I go through this lifelong identity crisis journey to figure out what I'm good at, only to end back up where I started, finding joy in the simplicity of who I actually was meant to be. Now, that story sounds pretty abstract, but if you think about it, that's the movie. He wakes up one day tired of being the Pumpkin King and then decides he's going to go ruin everyone else's day by taking over Christmas. He's a charismatic extrovert, so he gets everyone in his life involved in it. There's a woman talking sense to him he doesn't pay attention to. And finally, he just changes everything about himself only to realize he's not happy being Santa Claus. He gives it back to Santa Claus, he fixes the day, and he finds true joy in being Jack Skellington, the Pumpkin King. It's an oversimplified version of that, but it relates with me so much now as an adult because I find myself in a similar situation. I had a career in IT. For a very long time, I had a career in IT. And it wasn't until this year's IT slump where after getting laid off and we're all kind of working from home now trying to figure out what to do that I sat around and went, gosh, I don't know that I want to be in IT anymore. I want to travel. I want to find other things. I want to look for other opportunities, other unique things I could do. But IT is what I'm good at. I worry now that I'm on a bit of a Jack Skellington journey. Am I just unhappy with work? Am I just unhappy with the fact that I can't find any in IT? Am I unhappy with the IT work itself? I don't necessarily like staring at a computer all day. I love engaging with people. I love engaging with others. And similarly, Jack was trying to go through something like that himself. It's not that he didn't like Halloween. He just wasn't happy with it anymore. He struggled to find the joy. And that similarly is where I am in my own personal life and career. It's hard now to look at a computer and get excited. It's hard now to look at technology for me and get excited. The idea of storytelling, the idea of content creation, the idea of doing all those fun things, that sounds exciting to me. But the idea of sitting in front of a computer again and staring at that for 40 to 60 hours a week can be hard. It can be troubling. It can be a little daunting. And part of me wonders if that's a journey everyone my age is going through. We wake up in our 30s and we go, what am I supposed to be doing? I have to work to pay bills. I have to pay bills to survive. I have to survive to keep doing what I'm supposed to doing, but there's not always a lot of joy left in it. I don't know a ton of people in my life that are super stoked and excited to go to their job and to do what they're supposed to do. I don't know a ton of people that love going into the office. I had a conversation with someone today where I said, I don't want to return to a job that I have to buy specific clothes for. You know what I mean? You ever have a job where you have to buy a certain pair of khakis or trousers or a suit or something that you would only ever wear to a job? For me personally, I like to dress at work like I would for a Friday night dinner. Button-down flannel, nice pair of jeans, nice shoes, maybe a watch, something like that. If I can work in an office setting or in a job setting in the same clothes I would go to dinner in, great. It's not go to the bar clothes or go to the gym clothes. No, it's not that casual athletic wear or the frumpy sweatsuits all the time. No, it's a nice Friday go to dinner outfit. I like wearing that. But in the beginnings of my career, I remember having to work in offices where you had to buy dedicated dress clothes and wear a tie. And there was all these, what I now see to be antiquated forms of dress up that we had to play, even though I wasn't client facing. I understand. If you're selling luxury jets or you're in a banking position or you're a lawyer and you want to wear a suit to work in front of a customer, I get it. I'm all for that. That's okay. But I never saw the idea of let's dress up to see each other in the office as useful. I didn't like the commuting part. I didn't like having to drive into the office, spend the money on travel, spend the money on food or bring a lunch, and just there would be so much time invested into that process that when I started getting my first remote jobs around the COVID era, I was like, oh, this is kind of life-changing. This is actually liberating. I'm buying 2 hours a day again of my life. I'm not commuting an hour each way. I'm not wearing fancy dress-up clothes that no one else wants. I started to realize that there were certain things I just hated about going on to the in-person work that remote work's enabled. Now, I know there's a debate. I know there's a lot of people out there that are not pro-remote work. I know there's a lot of folks out there that are kind of anti people just being able to work from home, but it did open my eyes into a lot of the little things that we do. If Jack Skellington was a 30-year-old millennial, would he be questioning, well, why do we drive to the office? Why do we sit in these open rooms on Teams calls talking to each other? I remember I was in this one office space where they do these all-hands meetings from open desks, all on headsets. So we'd all be on the same calls in the same kind of building, but not in a room together or anything. We'd just be sitting on Teams calls. Well, we could do that from home. What are we doing if we're not meeting each other in person? The best part of going into the office was the one-on-ones where I'd see friends and we'd wander off and go have a discussion about work or a project, but we'd go wander into some room somewhere and get something done. That was awesome. That was cool. So there is value to being in person, but I've seen so many places that just don't understand the value of if we're going to be together, we should actually be together and work together. So I wonder, would Jack Skellington be in the role I'm in right now? Would he be searching for something new? Would he be trying to find more value in what it is that he was doing? And I got to give it to him. In the movie, he does a really good job. He goes to see the professor. He talks about building all these machines and really tries to get into the Santa Claus vibe. Like, he's doing his homework. He's doing his research. He's essentially doing everything he can to try to understand this thing he stumbled upon. Just walking one day in the woods, he finds Christmastown, become absolutely fascinated with it, and then just pours himself into this creative project. You gotta love that kind of energy. You gotta love that kind of magic feeling. I haven't been that excited about a project in a long time. Could you imagine discovering something that you feel like could literally reinvent your whole life and who you are and just throwing yourself into it? I would love that right now. If there was an alternative I could jump on, if I could tell stories for a living, oh my goodness, I'd completely reinvent myself. So part of what I'm going to do this week is produce content, video content, at least once a day, every day, and just keep that going during the work week. Monday through Friday, I'm going live once a day, every day. I'm going to do that for this week and see what that feels like. Can I think of myself? Can I view myself as a creator? Can I actually get out there and produce something, not just talk to the microphone, but something of value? That's going to be my goal. That's my little exploration into Christmastown. I'm hoping it works. I want to give it a shot, but gosh, I wonder if he and I were switching roles. What would he do in my life different? What would he explore? What would he try? How would he reinvent himself? And my fear, the existential fear I have, is that this is all just going to come crashing down and burning. That as I'm flying through the sky in Santa's sleigh with Zero up front and the reindeer in front of him, or behind Zero, I'm wondering, is the artillery going to come shooting at me? Is this all going to come crashing down? Am I going to find myself in a cemetery going, this whole time I just should have stuck with being the king of Pumpkin Town, being the ruler of Halloween? I hope not. I had a woman in my life that, for better or worse, when we split up, I'm now realizing that she enjoyed the stability of me in 9-to-5 jobs. She enjoyed the stability of me working more so than I think I did. I think I spent the past 7 years of my life focused on house and marriage and getting all the checkboxy things done that I kind of lost a part of myself. I didn't like doing the IT work. I didn't like working on the computers. I loved people. I loved being a manager. I loved taking care of people and leading people. That's what I like doing in the office space. But the actual staring at the computer screens can drive you a little loopy. I loved caring for people, and I wish that my job provided more of an opportunity to do that. In IT, you don't care for people, you care for systems. So it's very difficult to take care of others unless you're in a management role. And every day when I went to work, it was just, I got to pay the mortgage, I got to pay the bills. I was in survival mode to keep things alive in a marriage that in itself was failing. And now I find myself going, well, if I could start over, because I am starting over because I can, what's my Christmastown? What's that new thing I want to try? That's constantly racking my brain right now. It fills the busyness moments. When I'm quiet by myself, it gives me something to think about. When I'm active and trying to get distracted, that thought creeps into my mind. Am I going the right place? I had a friend of mine once say, you tell me you're driving to the shore, but then you end up in Ohio and wonder why you're there. And it's to make the point of, if you say you want to go do something, why are you taking steps that take you somewhere completely else? If your plan is to go to the shore, why do you keep making left, right, and other turns that take you into another state completely the opposite direction? And that's something I focus on in life more now lately is, at least Jack had a plan he was going for, and he had a goal, and he went there, and he did transform himself, and he failed, but he learned about himself in the process. I fear I'm not even that strong. I fear I'm not even strong enough to be Jack Skellington, to go fully reinvent. I fear I'm still taking the safe roads and the easy roads back to the things I know because that's easy. Because why not? Who cares? In the end, he does get the girl. In the end, he finds his identity. In the end, he gets that classic movie ending. But I don't know that that happens for all of us. I don't know that we figure out the exact thing we're supposed to do. I don't know that our identity gets that solidified and that magic girl character walks up and says, see, I had faith in you the whole time that you'd be this. I think it's a romantic idea. But now as an adult, I fear that may not be the case. I fear that there are so many options and choices that I may never know what the right one was. I just got to stick to one and do it. I fear that it might not be clear to that feminine protagonist exactly what I'm supposed to do, if one is going to show up or not. I fear that I could take a bunch of steps forward, make decisions, completely fail, and learn nothing. But I got to keep going either way. I got to keep trying. I absolutely got to keep pushing forward. And if you've not seen The Nightmare Before Christmas, I actively do recommend it. I suggest you do give it a watch. It is a fun and silly movie. Some of the characters are just completely overplayed in this most beautiful Tim Burton style. The visuals are lovely to watch. The music is epic. And every once in a while, I just want to be Jack Skellington. Just going out there and reinventing everything and seeing what happens. It's a joy to watch. It's a lovely story. And it'll be with me for the rest of my life. Every Christmas season that comes up, I will watch that movie. Every Christmas season that comes up, I will ask myself if I'm happy as Jack the Pumpkin King or if I'm trying to reinvent myself for just to learn to fail. I'm always going to have that question in the back of my mind now as an adult seeing that movie so differently. I'm still going to watch it. I hope I ask that question every year. I hope I don't get so stale and so boring that I stop questioning if this is the right thing to be doing or not. I hope I never lose that joy. I hope you don't either. So go ahead and like this content. Go ahead and add a comment. I do check that stuff. I'm going to be posting on a regular basis. I'm not good at self-promotion yet. I don't know how to self-promote. Every time someone in a video says like and subscribe, I always get mad. So, don't. If you don't want to, don't engage. It's not gonna, it doesn't matter. This is free anyway. Who cares? But do whatever you like. I appreciate you watching if you're live. I appreciate you watching if it's later. And I hope you find a story that you like too. I hope you get so passionate about it that you decide to make a Substack and tell the rest of the world why you love it. Anyway, this is Joe from Story by Joe, signing off.